So let's pick back up with task number 5. I'm going to break this one into 2 parts. The first part is just going to go over creating a frequency table. So a frequency table, right, is a way that I organize my data depending on the number of data points that happen within a certain class width. One way you can do this is just by hand on paper. Right, we just chose our class width, which is going to be 17 for my data set here. And you can create your description and then just go through your data set and tally the number of data points within a certain class width. I'm going to show you how we can also do this in Google Sheets and give ourselves a little bit of a shortcut. So the first thing I want to do before I start messing with my sheet is I want to duplicate it so that any changes I make don't affect all of the calculations I spent a lot of time doing here. So to make a duplicate sheet, I'm just going to go down to the very bottom of my screen. And next to where it says sheet 1 is this little down arrow. When I click on my down arrow, I can go all the way up to duplicate. And this just makes a copy now of my sheet. If you want to rename it, you can. I might just call this frequency table. So again, to rename, you can double click and select rename. So because I'm on my frequency table, I do not need any of these calculations here. So I am just going to get rid of them. I'm going to do that by highlighting all of my boxes, double clicking, and I want to delete the cells, not the rows, because that will delete some of my data. I want to just delete what I have highlighted. I'm going to have those shift up. Don't worry about shift up. It just means since there's nothing below it, we're not going to mess up any other part of our sheet. Okay, now that that is out of the way, I want to order all of these responses. Right now they are in order just by the order in which we asked people. I want to sort them so that my responses go from least to greatest. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to freeze this first row so that my labels stay in place. So to do that, I'm going to click on 1 so that this whole row is highlighted. Go up to View. Go down to Freeze. I'm just going to freeze my first row. And that means now that I can scroll through my data, but my label isn't going to move anywhere. Okay, so now that my response is frozen, I want to order my sheet based on these values here. So I click on C to highlight this column, and then I'm going to double click on it so all of these options come up. And once I click Sort Sheet A to Z, all of my data now is in order from least to greatest. And we can see, right, all of our outliers ended up together here at the end. A good sign that we did this correctly. So to create a frequency table in here, I'm just going to type in my class widths. So I have my description, or let's do actually the full thing. So I'll start with my class number. I used all 8 classes. You may not, depending on the size of the spread and range of your data. I'm going to go all the way to 8 for my class number. Next, I have my description, and this is where I'm going to put that class width. So again, we chose a class width of 17 for this data set. So my first class goes from 0 to less than 17. This is where I might regret going by 17s a little bit, but we can pull out a calculator to help us out. If you can add by 17s in your head, kudos to you. But I go from 0 to less than 17. And then I'm going to go from 17 to less than 34. 34 to less than 51. 51 to less than 68. 68 to less than 85. 85 to less than 102. 102 to less than 119. And finally, 119. And this is the one where I forgot to put my dash to say it's 102 to less than 119. And then my last bin width here is where I'm going to put all of my outliers. So this one is just 119 all the way up to, we can say, 265, right? Just a little bit above our final outlier here. 119 to 265. You could also label this just 119 plus to say all of the numbers that are greater than 119. Make my labels bold. Okay, we have all of our class widths in here. Now let's do our frequencies. I'm skipping the tally section digitally because I'm just not going to put tally marks on here. I'm instead just going to go through my data set right here. So my frequency for 0 to 17 are all of these data points here. So if I look at how these rows are numbered, right, we don't include 1, but we're going from 2 to 19. I believe that should be 17. Let's count to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Of course, Rebecca, 19 minus 1 is 18. So our frequency here is 18. I'm going to make this bold just to show that that was right, our cutoff for that first class here. All right, our next one goes from 17 to 34. So here I have all of those values that are between 17 and less than 34. And there are 5 of those. Now I have 34 to less than 51. These values here, there are 6 of those. All right, and then we have 51 to less than 68 right here. So we have 3 in this class here. Next, we have 68 to 85, just 1 in this class. 85 to less than 102, also just 1 person. 102 to 119, we actually don't have anyone in that class width, so that becomes 0. And then 119 and above, we have 6. All right. We can check our work to make sure we didn't miss any of our data points by adding up all of our total frequencies here. And right, once we add all of the frequencies up, they should equal that number of data points in our data set, which for us is 40. So to find my sum, I'm just going to do equals. And a lot of times Google will automatically suggest it for you. But sum, and this now is the data I'm going to add up. So I'm highlighting from G2 all the way to G9. I'm going to take Google up on its suggestion by just clicking down here. And good news, it did indeed add up to 40. So all of our counting was correct. And here, I want to make a table here, is our frequency table, which is part 1 of task number 5.